Yeah. All right, let's begin. Let's do the budgets. I
pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
honor and protect the flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. All right, so I'm moving in because we got a little flawed with the Texas pledge last time, but that's okay. Everybody has an
all good.
opportunity to mess up. We're only humans. All right, so we're at our budget workshop meeting. It's informal, so anybody can talk at any time.
All of us up here?
Yeah, just follow the rules of decorum when it comes up here. You can, you're welcome. It won't be very long. We will adjourn at 4:30 regardless, but I think we'll be done before that. Plus, the discussion is really good and engaging. Okay. Yeah.
So
Okay.
I've had a number of setbacks. The spreadsheet has taken a lot longer than usual. On account of having to start from scratch. And manually enter all the numbers in. So if I misenter them, it throws some of the formulas off. I've also found, as I've been putting in the current fiscal year's budget, there are discrepancies in the line items that have to be fixed, which means I have to get all of the documentation in order to make the fix for audit purposes, which has also been a setback. This time last year, we didn't have issues. This time this year, unfortunately, we do. It's just been a larger undertaking. It's not something I can hand off to someone else to do, whereas in the past, it was handed off to me. So that's been a big setback. I've also been dependent on waiting for information. So TML is going up on the insurance, not the property side, our vehicle insurance, stuff like that. Our workman's comp did see a huge increase this year, which will reflect for next year as well. Especially on our law enforcement side, they've increased that rate. We're guaranteed from the last email I got from our health insurance brokers, a 5% increase on our health insurance. So now it's going in and adjusting all of our health insurance.
Off the top of your head, how much, how much do we currently pay?
I believe it's $629.81 a month per employee.
It's a 5%.
So we're adding 5% on top of that, but the city also covers up to 50% of, or up to 60% of the dependent coverage. So we don't really calculate that additional amount, because we don't know from year to year who's gonna have dependent coverage.
Right.
We can with some of our long-term employees, we can add that little extra bit that we cover. So I've been looking at that. Our retirement, went from, I believe, 1.96 to 2 point something. So this is updating all of those spreadsheets. And then they used to all tie together. Last year, like I said, I was way ahead of the game on the spreadsheet side. This year, none of those spreadsheets, since I stepped away from the director of finance position, were done. Not anyone's fault, just went a different, easier direction. But I didn't realize how much I utilize them for the budget side until I actually had to do budgets.
All right.
So now it's going through and updating all of it, put them in to the correct field departments.
So Megan, did we pay 100% of our employees?
Yes. We pay 100% of health, dental, and vision. We pay 50 to 60% of dependent, depending on if it's spouse, children, and family. But they pay 100% of the dependent for vision and dental.
For the dependent.
Yes, for the dependent.
Do we offer life insurance?
So we do provide life insurance through the Hartford, and we pay for that 100%.
Or just the employee?
Just the
Okay, so when was it that we hired former finance director?
in July.
July. And she left in March. So that's 8 months, 8 months worth of.
And it's not, like I said, it has nothing to do with her as a physician, we just went an easier route. For me, I kept thinking, when I had set up all of the department spreadsheets, it was easy for me to look at a projected year in, not thinking, oh, I used it for the actual budget formulations. So when I pull up the budget worksheet to get started, last year I could easily cut and paste when I exported from our accounting software. I could export it to Excel, cut the columns I needed and put them in. This year it won't. When you go to export it, it's exporting it in huge odd blocks. So you can't just cut and paste the columns into where it needs to go. And then when I did the budget analysis and looking at some of the expenses, I realized, how are we that far off? And so some of the line items, remember, we have all new finance team.
Right.
So if they're not aware of what line items specifically we use, and they're just putting it in, it's putting all those up. And Marcy, actually, I printed them out for her, and she went through and highlighted and questioned, does this belong here? Some of them are obvious. Reliant should come out of electricity, not field supplies.
Right.
So it's going back in, because that will significantly mess up the projected year.
Right. Right.
So upon first glance, you don't realize it until I look at the projected year end and look at the line item, like, there's no way they can go over budget, and there's no way they do.
Okay, so where are we at on getting you an assistant help? Because the amount of stuff on your plate is not humanly possible.
Hopefully in the next week and a half.
It should be full-time yours.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an assistant or finance?
No, it's an
Assistant or man.
the two positions, finance and the city manager, tie closely together when it comes to the budget. And like I said, this time last year, I was doing both sides. I stepped away for 8 months. And so, not that I wasn't visiting and keeping on top of things, it's just when you get down to the actual budget, it's looking at the line items and reading the information.
And where are we on hiring a fund?
We haven't had any qualified applicants.
That's what you really need to push, because that's why you're in the, can't do both of them. Yeah, no.
I think you need like 2 assistants.
Okay,
So back onto the
let's-
budget. So the next 3 days, I'm gonna work from home, and this is distractions. I do have an open door policy when people are in and out of my office. I don't discourage it. I do try to keep the doors closed at the same time. There's a lot that people want assistance with. Really, I just need to finish the water department and the wastewater, and the hot tub. Those are the 3 that are.
Holding you up.
Yeah.
Okay, and so for those of you that don't know, in the midst of this, Megan's had some
Right.
medical issues too. It's been a little bit of a setback.
Yeah.
Let's look at reality here. How likely do you think it is we're gonna get a qualified candidate for the finance department?
Can't answer that. It just depends on the apply.
How many applications do we have?
This go around so far, 1.
Oh, how long?
2.5, 3 months.
Okay, let's open up the conversation to considering other options. So if we went for some type of CPA firm to take over the finance.
I don't know how you would outsource finance at this.
And what do you do with our girl? We have employees on that job. But we have other open positions. We need a receptionist, right? No, we've got one. Other thoughts?
Boys are in finance.
We just hired a new one who started last week, so that was 4.
How much would it cost for some type of head hire?
SGR came back at over 20 grand.
You're gonna pay at least 30% of what we hire is gonna be with them. Plus all their costs. I've been in this business for 80, decade, so.
And I did, reach out to SGR, because we had,
So what do you think, Rick,
I,
about
I, I,
getting finance for?
yeah, I don't know. Alicia's working in college. She didn't go there. You know, before finance directors, and so Washington Central. So, yeah,
Was that a pay raise for?
no, they need a comptroller and she went to work up there.
Instead.
I know, but I just tell you, Carlos told me, he hired me, so, I know. So, I don't know the problems, we need a finance director, there's no question about it, okay? And, my frustration is right now. It's hard, it will be really helpful, I'd like to come back to the finance director, we all have been working this for a long time. I'd like to know what we realistically think we could budget them for, based on our current plan, it ain't gonna happen in time for long. So that's my concern, and there are issues that need to get worked, and without a budget, we're kind of stuck.
The first draft was presented last year, July 25th.
Yeah,
So.
I'm just going off the schedule, as I said.
which we
My
also got-
frustration, you're hearing it right now, I'm trying to manage my schedule as well. I have 4 not-for-profits I'm part of, I run 3 businesses. Okay, I lined up scheduled to spend time to go work it. And I've got a family vacation that's happening next week, I'm thinking the whole family, the whole kid pool. In Oregon. And my family knows this is a priority. And so understanding what our budget's gonna be is important, because we got lots of issues. You know, and I just up the wastewater treatment plant last night, and I'm sure Drew gave you an update. We have some real issues that need to get worked here in the city of Alpine. And we have staff issues, we have employee issues, I think we've got a number of things to go with. So, without understanding where we are financially, it's hard to make an assessment about what we should allocate resource wise, because you can hire finance directors, just a finance director. I can go in the market, I've got that going on not-for-profit right now. Our CFO left, we went and hired one on for 6 months till the new one came on board. And we're going through that transition, so you can go hire them, they exist out there. That just buys you time to go find a qualified person you're looking for. And the individuals do it remotely, pull all the data up, and it has helped immensely. This organization I'm talking about is a $13 million organization.
So would that be a possibility for the city to have a finance director that's working remotely?
It depends on how well they do their job. We're not digital. And by no means are we in a digital status. To where they could that easily access everything, but everything's in paper.
This is the organization that runs, this organization actually the American Science Engineering Society. Not same as where Alpine is, it runs everything else.
So when do you return from your family vacation?
And that's 26.
26, and this is when we had the budget last year, was July 26.
And we have a lot of discussions. We're not gonna.
So what are you, so if I presented a balanced budget within the scope, what discussions would?
I don't know, I don't know what the balanced budget is.
So you're more focused on the numbers.
As you
I'm
and I-
trying to understand where you're coming
Where I'm coming from, Megan, is we've talked before, one balanced budget and what the implications are. As I have my list here. What's the summary for the general budget, summary by enterprise? What are performance measures for each of what's the capital plan? What's our balance? Forecast actuals for the year? What are our fund balance levels? What's committed, what's not committed? What's our property strategy, property tax strategy? Making sure we have an employee pay benefits plan. What we're talking about on the number of employees. What's our debt level? All the things we'd like to see, and then what are our goals and objectives by department? That's what our documents we all approved said we would have as part of our budget. So that's what I'm looking for. And I give the challenges that exist in terms of people. It's just a little bit frustrating. So I'm just trying to plan. So what's our plan?
Is there any part of the budget that can be only partially presented, so we start working through some of that? I understand labor's gonna be a part of all of it, so.
The spreadsheet's the most important part.
We need to.
I mean, I can go into our accounting software, plug numbers in, but it's not gonna give you what you guys have asked for in the budget.
Yeah.
There's no projected year.
Yeah.
And so that all has to be.
So are you able to devote 99% of your working time to this? Or do you have other tasks on your desk that you're trying to complete?
I have a ton of other time.
Okay,
She's trying to be the city manager.
Yeah, really.
And the director of finance.
Yeah.
And everything.
so those other tasks, can they be pushed till after
The
this?
staff has been informed as of today, as I have attempted multiple times to enter the same column of data without interruptions. But the next 3 days, unless it's an absolute emergency.
Unless it's blood, unless you're bleeding, it's not gonna.
I have to stop what I'm doing to put in a W-9 so someone can get a PO.
Yeah.
Because there has to be checks and balances with our accounts payable.
And there's nobody else
There's
here
nobody
that
else
can
that
do
can do
that
that?
for you?
No, because then there would be no checks and balances. We have it set up so that certain people do certain things, so
Right.
that you're not putting in a vendor, you're not issuing a PO, you're not invoicing, and you're not.
Yeah, right, it's understandable. So what we need to do is figure out how Megan can be devoted to just this.
The next 3 days. Don't call, don't email me.
Are you gonna stay at home?
Yeah.
Don't want to text her.
Cause I was gonna say lock the door, wait, she can get in.
They'll not, they'll not.
The spreadsheet is the hangup. Unfortunately, this time last year, I had already had everything in spreadsheets, and that's how I kept all the departments updated. It was time consuming, but at the end, obviously, it benefited me. When things switched, I gave it over, but it was easier to just print the PDF off instead of putting it into an actual spreadsheet, because then departments would be updated. So,
Is it realistic that maybe it's only gonna be 3 days?
as long as I have like complete focus, yes. As of right now, I've been doing this at night and on.
I know, you're killing yourself. So, we don't want you to die, okay? But all of the things we've talked about, that this council looked at in terms of our budget policy, which is what I presume you're following.
Yes, so most of these little pieces all tie together.
Oh, I know, yep.
So updating the reserves is just the quarterly investments. Understanding what's dedicated, all of our reserves are dedicated. It's the fund balances that aren't dedicated. Having the projected year end, which is the spreadsheet, tells me what our possible. So they're all connected. So it's just getting the final pieces of the spreadsheet completed and running through all my formulas one last time and literally taking plans. They're all connected in some way or another.
So today is Tuesday, 11th. What I hear you saying is on Friday the 14th, and this is not the 13th, Friday the 14th, you'll be done.
That's the plan.
So that's the plan. And I'm gonna presume it'll roll to the 15th. There's nothing ever goes to plan.
As of yet,
Yeah, okay, so let's assume the 15th. So that says after you wake up on the 15th and said, oh shit, I forgot this, and you'll go through all your stuff. On the 16th, you can probably push the send button to us with a budget.
so do you want the spreadsheet that has all the numbers, or do you want the full doc that has all the tables, the city manager letter and all of that,
What were you going to give us last week?
the numbers?
Okay, and then when's the rest of that come out?
So dependent on if there's any huge turmoil with council on the numbers, that was just the next part. Work on.
Okay, so
So what you're saying is that by next Tuesday, we should be able to have the kind of conversation that we need to have.
but we need data on Sunday, if we're having a meaningful discussion.
So is that really doable?
As long as there's no major setbacks, yes.
Okay,
It's just the interruption, that's what kills me.
all right.
Okay.
So,
So who's gonna answer the phone when you're not here?
I'll answer it.
yeah,
Oh, I'm really sorry, you're not getting up.
So I, like I said, I've already instructed the staff the next 3 days. So they
Okay,
take that.
but there will be a water break. there will be some crisis that comes up.
Really, Rick, you better knock on something wood. Jesus.
Will be a crisis. So who's gonna respond to the crisis? Not you.
That's fine.
Well, we have to have it happen. Who can respond to it?
Well, hopefully the water department just keeps me informed.
Okay, good. And you're not gonna be
Depending on,
monitoring
it's just
scanning.
depending on the level of the price.
Okay, good. We'll be okay.
I mean, they handled both of the weeks this weekend by just keeping me informed.
That's good. That's very good.
It is good.
Good. And by the way, I want to mention, if you haven't toured the wastewater treatment plant, go tour it.
Can you just go
Well, that's, in my view, that's what I'm worried about.
That's been mine for the past year.
The reason the bacteria level is so high is we're not getting rid of any of the solids.
It sounds to me it hasn't done that for years. And I think we dumped all our art money into it. And money wise, unless we hit the lotto. Or don't hire any more employees, I mean, there's a give somewhere, that's a lot of money that I think.
I disagree, I really do. I mean, so I've talked to experts who are in that business besides us. We,
Well, I wish you'd bring them in here and stand to us, because we're getting big money,
yeah,
$8-9 million. that
Could
we
they
don't have.
come and talk to us?
of course, I got guys that used to do that stuff.
Okay.
Okay,
Are they in town?
They're in town. And so Claire and I said, we have a tractor doesn't work out there. That's the reason our solids aren't being pulled out.
So that's an internal issue.
I know it is.
Of lack of communication that we've been working on, because I just found out things were broken. And then instead of an employee being open and honest with, hey, this isn't working. And giving anyone the opportunity to
They
fix
just didn't
it.
say anything?
Yeah, well, and I talked to Drew, said, Drew, I'll get guys to go out there and fix that tractor.
So Ruben's already been notified. We have the means to do it.
I know.
Somebody will just,
I know, but the tractor still isn't working.
and there's access to another one.
I know, it's tractor's running.
It's just communication.
I
It
know.
really truly is.
What,
The RAS
But
fund's
do they
not
get
working.
it? Do they get it when that goes down? What happens? Do you think they really get it? And if they don't, they need to be written up or fired.
We're definitely changing internal.
Now, I know it's hard to find somebody. You get somebody out there like that, it's gonna let this whole town go down, because they're embarrassed to tell somebody they broke something. They need to be going home.
We're changing internal procedures.
Good deal.
but,
But if you have experts that would
Yeah.
be beneficial.
I've got guys, I've been talking to guys about, hey, we'll go clear out, and that's part of it, I want to beg you, because I
Can't
don't
talk
really
there.
what you're
Only
doing, you're the
talk
one
there.
running it, but you're all working finance stuff.
Well,
Yeah,
so I asked the wastewater treatment plant to contact the last vendor we used to clear out the sludge.
Yeah.
And that was last October,
Yeah, I know, here we are,
and
July.
it hasn't been done, and they were ghosted and they wouldn't respond. But then I have another employee pick up the phone and say, oh, yeah, I know who you're talking about, we're not gonna be able to mobilize out there, but here's 2 other people you can contact. It's the follow through and the communication.
Yeah, and my reaction is, I can go get those 6 solid waste drying bins cleaned out in a week. Just go get them done, clean out. Now you can start pushing your solids back out. Now you can get your bacteria levels back down. It's gonna take about 18 bins to do that.
And
18
18 dump bins. So those solids, when they dry out, they gotta pass the sieve test, no drips, you're putting them in the bin and you're hauling them. Both of the numbers yesterday, it's about 18 of them. Yeah, so we're happy to help on that, but that's great, just go get it done, not charge anything, just go do it.
Oh, that's even better.
except for TDS.
Well, TDS charge, you gotta pay that anyway.
Yeah, that's even better.
Yeah,
That's a
no,
good
that's
deal.
what I can mobilize construction guys pretty quickly. to get things done.
For zero cost to the city.
Yeah, I mean, right, we're in crisis mode right now. If we lose our wastewater treatment plant,
Oh, I know.
we're
Yeah.
screwed.
We are.
They lose their wastewater treatment plant too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. So
Well,
is that
I'm
acceptable then, Megan? Would that be acceptable? Okay. That's taken care
Well,
of. Okay.
in my mind, we can talk about that right now, budget. If we look realistically, what I hear is the 16th, we're gonna have a draft budget, which are all the numbers. Good, and will that include, fund balances? Because they'll include fund balances, how much of the fund balances are committed and what's remaining. Okay, so that will be helpful, so that's the numbers. I'm sorry, and yeah, yep, okay,
They all kind of,
they all tie together. Will you have forecasts for year end?
I'm working on a different strategy for that. I've been visiting with other cities on how they're forecasting. This past one, we just did a 2%. I'm utilizing some of their information as far as formulas to give it a little bit more realistic.
So, because if you have some sense about where you're gonna be in year end. In terms of expenditures, and revenue, and you have, that at least gives you some sense about where our spend rate is.
Yeah, the start and the finish are pretty easy. It's kind of the whole middle part, like, are you looking at a few percent increase for forecasting, are you looking at, you know,
Okay, so you're talking about percentage increase.
yeah, like how the formula looks best.
Yeah.
AI has become a huge tool in the finance world. No, we don't have that beautiful software in place, but there's a lot of things out there to help with the formula.
Good deal.
5 year, you're looking between 5 to 8% increase. You don't plan on it, but just a reality.
One thing told me,
So. We're gonna put that's gonna have an assumption about what it's going to look like.
so that's the important part of the spreadsheet is it has the actuals for 21, actuals for 22, and projections for 2030. You need all of that in order to make any type of decision.
Okay, so numbers you expect by the 16th. Meaning we will have it.
So what I'm hearing is that we just need to pick up the end once we have those numbers and
I need to
have our
know,
meeting on the 18th.
I need to know realistically, paying. Because your update tonight is we're not paying this. Nobody responded to the second part.
Oh, we're talking about that this evening.
So time-wise, there's no time to go out for another RFP and complete the project by the end of this. We would need a minimum of 4 to 6 weeks for an RFP.
So
That is meeting the state requirement.
my opinion. We would have this discussion, if I, from a city standpoint, I view the priorities, water, wastewater employees, paving falls off, you do whatever, and he's got time and money for it. That's
Agree.
where I'm at.
And
Yes,
that's where we came from at the town hall.
yes, let's fix the big one and let's go.
Everybody brags about the potholes, but they decided the wastewater treatment plant was going.
Well, and potholes, so I carry 10 sacks of stuff in the back of my pickup truck. When I say a pothole, I stop to get my shovel out, I fill in, and I run over a bunch of times and I'm on my way.
Boom.
And I learned from Eddie, this new mix, this aqueous, whatever the heck you call it, I'm buying a pallet of that.
So that's what you're carrying in your truck.
I carry my pickup truck,
What is it?
Aqua patch.
it's an aqua patch.
And
It's
you're getting out
fine.
at McCoy's or where do you get that?
That's Eddie and I gotta talk about that, he and I talked about it, I'm just gonna order it.
We have a vendor.
Yeah.
We go through. It's slightly more expensive, but it does do a little bit better job.
I go through 20 sacks anyway, I used to buy it at McCoy, stick it in my garage, the aqua packs, it's not go bad. You mix it with water, you pour it in, run over your pickup truck and you're done.
So you carry like a couple gallons of water with you?
I just carry it, I gotta pay for it.
No.
Oh,
Truck.
But my view is there's an opportunity to help people look and say, and maybe we can organize by ward.
Right.
Those sorts of things,
Have a paving party.
have the paving.
I can
party.
come help. Come on, let's
No,
go.
it's no big deal.
It's not paving, it'd be what, pothole patching?
Pothole patching.
There we go.
So, but anyway,
Yeah.
that's the priority, still with those priorities.
Well, yeah.
And I think you gotta start going for it.
There might be something to that.
Yeah.
You know.
I thought Danny Bell was doing that for a while.
She was, they were, what were they? The
Asphalt,
pothole-
asphalt. and
Asphalt Avengers, but I think her life is extremely busy.
I think it is there, so.
Everybody's is. Yeah, her priorities aren't there right now.
That means there's no paving through October, then, and when the new budget picks up, then we discuss paving for next year.
That means there's no paving for next
Yeah,
year.
there's no paving.
You're gonna have to.
Yeah, he's got material, but then I think you probably wanna look and say, what are the priorities of the groups that really need it?
Right.
Which ones are in trouble? And you say, Eddie and crew, go work on those.
And then seal coat everything.
Yeah, the seal coat chips, I didn't do that, that's easy. But I would do it hot paving wrong. Because
You just
I
do what
think
you
it's a
can.
strategy for the city, stop hot paving. You know, it used to be $40,000 a block to do a hot patch. Seal coat's about 18,000.
Well, it's true, I talked to Eddie, we own asphalt zipper that we don't use.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but that's been a large purchase, 200,000, I guess, or something like that, so I don't know if they'll have training for it or what, but.
There would be no. I don't know if anyone like that, maybe,
Maybe Eddie probably.
When did we get it?
it's been here before me.
Long time ago. No, it's not here.
So Eddie may not even know.
Eddie knows.
And runs,
They live during it.
tires and stuff.
So put it on the front of it. Or,
Oh, it's a piece of equipment.
Piece of equipment,
basically what it does is it grinds up the.
runs up the asphalt.
That way it be reused, yeah, recycled.
It's in a very, they're good for small kids. They clear the base, you don't have to ship the base out.
Right. And that's what textiles have tiles and stuff anyway.
They used to, and we would actually benefit from it, because we could use it for a hot patch machine, to do a hot patch.
Jared has one.
That's what Jared uses when he comes in the road.
So,
All right, so we're looking at the 18th.
well, we
Our
got stuff
next
on the
meeting.
16th, so we can do our homework.
Yeah.
So we're ready for a meaningful discussion on the 18th. And then what would be helpful, Megan, is if you took the calendar,
They don't updated. So
updated to reflect the new stuff. But we'll-
No, you can't write it in, like, you need to go do it.
No, we did the same thing last year, and we did
I know.
mark through an update, because we did some changes last year.
All right, is there anything else? Any other comments?
I have a question, then, well, all the stuff that we were talking about, employee pay, raising 15 and compression level, will any of that be done, put it in the new budget, or is that completely, sidelined?
It's gonna be put in, but it's gonna be put in at a flat percent.
What, right?
What was that? So 10% on 1350 takes you to what? Almost 15.
11.1%. But I have it for those who are, the positions that are open at the 1350 would change to 15. And then everyone else will. But it gives us room to argue. So what I've noticed in the spreadsheet that I've been working on, it's anywhere from 2 to 12% increase. It's just really,
So what, two?
the higher up you are for the compression, you're not as close to that level. It's a little bit tricky, the way I've been shown and working with another group.
Is
So
that-
basically you have, because you go by your salary ranges, so you basically take the median for the salary range. So what gets our city is our employees don't always fall in their salary ranges. So where a worker one shouldn't be over 16, they're at like 16.55, well, then they don't meet that salary range, which means there should be 0 compression. But then the next question is your employee to fall within your salary ranges? If they don't, you put them in the next salary range and you could look at it in that. So it's looking at both sides of it.
If we didn't do a compression or salary increase, then we do kind of what the school district did, where they came in and did a $4,000 rate for paraprofessionals, and then a lower rate is the higher, so the one-time rate is not a perpetuity. or something like that. And if you put that in, be fair.
To do what?
Any increase in
To
salary.
give the ones making more money to raise?
No,
Is that what you said?
Less of a raise with those making less money would get more of a
I
raise.
completely was off.
But that way you're not dealing with, percentages, you're dealing with percentages and the higher paid people make more money.
Make more money.
But that flat rate actually helps out.
So that's where like the whole salary range and stepping comes into play, because you really be able to truly understand how we're paying employees. And right now, when you look at the salary range for worker one, worker two, for admin, for all the different positions, our employees don't necessarily fit those fields.
Is that the third pay issue then until next budget, not this budget?
I think for a true understanding, it would be this would be the next, you definitely have to do something this year to make up for all of the increases across everything else.
My view is a necessity for our turnover is going to continue on the charts. My view, you got no choice but to look at. And it has to be, if we, the four of us can't understand it, the employees can't understand it, they won't walk. So this has got to be something that says, here's what we're doing. Okay. And here are the steps you're gonna go through. If I'm a worker too, I'd have look and say, yep, they did exactly what they said they're gonna do.
And that's why those salary ranges and the stepping tools are important.
Yep.
Because I have a worker, one, like I said, making 16 plus an hour and one making 13.50. They've got maybe a year and a half difference. Well, how did they get to where they're at? when they're still here? So it happens in our utility department. It's unfortunate, but it's sitting there having that conversation with okay. This is what
Once
you
you
turn
get a
off.
handle on it, it'll quit happening, right?
Correct. So all the departments are actually working towards cleaning up their own pay scales in some way or another. Good idea. The job description.
Yeah.
What exactly do you need?
What are you doing, right?
They're looking at other areas. What are other cities paying, comparables? They're looking at their differentials and what are we paying for certifications? And is it even really a certification we need to have separate or do we include it in the hourly? So they're all working on it. And coming back with, hey, I want to let's discuss this. And so the police department's a big one, animal control. The utilities is a big one, the street department, the gas. All of these have specific requirements to even have the job.
Right.
And so now it's just lining them up. Because worker 1, 2, and 3 in the utility department right now says you have to have a certification within the first 12 months. What certification? A D, a C, a B, an A? So if I get the D within the first 12 months and I don't go anywhere, does that mean I never go up? So it's redefining certification.
If
When
we
you
get
have-
all this cleared up with this budget, even though it's changing your acts, next year will be a great. Hopefully, the plan. There we go. Well, hey. That's good.
But instead of me writing the job description for someone else, they're investing the time. What do they want their department? All of them have looked at an organizational chart and I told them to design their departments based on what they would ultimately like to see. Not that we have to fill every position. The utility is a prime example. They want actual like crews where you have a crew leader. That position doesn't exist. So when you have a utility worker telling people I'm a crew leader, no, you're not, because it doesn't exist.
Right.
And so then they can see if I get hired, this is how I can move up. And this is how I can move up.
So what kind of progress are they making on that? The directors,
Actually, 90% of them have already completed.
it's done and turned into you.
There's just one department that I'm. Which means I get to create it myself.
So that information will be available from a budget perspective.
So like everything's being pieced together, but instead of the city manager doing it all, I'm asking them to.
Right, because they're the experts.
Then they know
Do
they
it
should.
all. They're the ones that are making the higher salary. They're hiring these people to work with them and help their department. And they should be willing to participate
It's their
in making
responsibility.
everything better.
And they all are.
I know.
They truly all
I know,
are.
and it's because of who they are that you're getting that. That's a good thing.
And I already told them that just because, the city organizational chart changes and we have, 100 new positions, I'm exaggerating, doesn't mean we budget for all of them.
Right.
But it does tell the city and the employees, as we continue to grow, these positions actually are there.
Right.
Otherwise, you're gonna have.
We get it. We get it that you need 5 people, but we can only give you 3. That's what they want to hear. We
Or as
know.
a worker one, I
understand
know I can become a 2 and 3,
Right.
and then I'm not stuck until someone leaves, I can become, crew chief or,
So when will all that be done?
I need to sit down, Marcy's gonna help me with that.
Okay,
It's
so,
putting it into one instead of separate.
okay, so that's not gonna be ready for the 16th.
No.
So.
Because she's also working on
And
it.
that's like a family tree.
The Gantt chart.
Yeah.
That's what that's
So
for.
we look at the 16th, so when might it be? Because then we gotta think about that from a budget standpoint.
I'd really like to do it because she is part.
It'll be really helpful.
For the department we're waiting on. Okay. All right. Well, if there's not anything else, I'm gonna adjourn this until 5:30.
Did you guys have any?
Yeah, it's open ended.
Where's the clock?
It's
Where's the clock?
That's what's missing. I was missing.
It's been removed.
Yes, I noticed that. How quick like that?
Another meeting in which the clock wasn't exactly at the time it needed to. be.
Yeah.
A little bit of discussion. It's in the hallway.
We have it back for tonight.
Geo is online, let you know.
Gio?
Yes,
Hi.
Like a wizard behind.
Yeah, can we have the clock back for tonight, please?
sure,
Okay, thank you, Gio.
no problem.
Okay, all right, anything else before we,
Questions I want to ask.
Rick? Okay, Aaron? Chief? No. Adjourned, it's workshop, 5:30 tonight.
Eat something, come back here.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.